When you think of the word hero car, few things come to mind. Exotic, flamboyant. These are a few of the terms used to describe a supercar in hopes that we can one day acquire such a vehicle, right? Well, that's not necessarily the case, because with cutting edge technology and engineering in Japan in the 80s and 90s, we had awesome cars over in Japan. But if it wasn't for a little old anime called Initial D, we wouldn't have all these cars on the world stage. I've poured thousands of hours into this anime, and I grew up watching this TV show like it was my bread and butter. If you're a fan of the Initial D TV show and anime, you're gonna love what we have on offer here today, because this is Ryosuke Takahashi's FC Mazda RX-7. And alongside that, we have the most iconic car in Japanese history of all time. This is Takumi Fujiwara's AE86. This is the tofu car, the one that won it all on Initial D. These are our hero cars. This is Alan, and my name is Clay Wong, and let's go deliver some tofu.
Let's hang out, start the day when we get down. Girls say you're looking at me, come on girls, don't stop it now. Keep on playing the game, you got me shaking somehow. Come on, I got right the plan to take you with me tonight. Say, cause I'm your man, we rock it like we can.
Today, as you already know, you have seen the introduction, we are driving the Initial D Legends, and played out like one of the hero cars in that anime. I can't believe we're experiencing out here today. This is the 1989 Mazda FC3S RX-7. This Series 5 model is one of the last to have ever been imported into Australia. It sports the 13V turbocharged rotary engine, and it's paired with the 5-speed manual transmission. And for it to be matched with the white paintwork, this is the most desirable combination to have. I don't know if you guys can actually hear how good this rotary engine sounds. The FC is the second generation of the RX-7, and it sported a host of changes over the original first generation model. And it came with an independent rear suspension, which helped improve the handling and the geometry of this car. A brand new 13V turbocharged motor that came with a twin scroll system that gave it a grand total of 149 kilowatts. It's not a whole lot by today's standard, but for just 1,200 kilograms, that's a whole lot of grunt to be having in a car like this. Although this car isn't directly a car associated with the corners, but when you find yourself a set of corners, this car shines in a way that you don't really think is possible. It is so comfortable and compliant over these bumps and roads. There's a sense of balance in the chassis, which is so remarkable. It weighs over 300 kilos more than its predecessor, but still it feels lively and agile in a way that you want so much when you drive this car. But it's saying that you really have to rev this car out to extract that turbocharged 13V rotary engine. It's a 1.3 litre twin rotor system, and it just loves to rev. You get turbo boost starting to creep into the motor at about 3,500 RPM, and it builds all the way up until redline at 7,000. This is a car that wants to be driven hard at every single opportunity. Listen to it. 5, 6, 6.5. It gets so quick, way up in the revs. These rotary engines are designed to be revved out, and if you don't do that, it's actually a disjustice for these engines, and there's a large carbon buildup if you just don't drive these cars hard. Let's put the windows down and hear how this thing goes. That rotary engine just screams. Car that as soon as you hop into it, it's got the driving inputs perfectly laid out. Pedals are positioned really well for heel and towing, and the slightest input in the steering wheel and it just turns. Although I do have to mention that the flywheel on the original clutch is a little bit heavy, so you're gonna have to rev it out in order to rev match and to heel and tow. But the gearbox is so lovely to roll through the gears. It's notchy, it's precise, and when you get all these components right about this car, it just feels so darn good. You have to keep it up high in the RPM range, and once you get up there, it just wants to stay all the way in red line because this car invokes so much confidence. The gears are definitely long in this car as well, so you're often finding yourself in second or even third gear. If you're lucky, the gears are very catered around highway driving, especially because rotaries have just such bad mileage. But this car is all about the miles per gallon. This is a car that showcased a vehicle that was set out upon the design in itself, and it was all about that. There were no safety precautions that had to be met. There were no emissions as well. There's nothing like that that deteriorates the whole look and appeal of this JDM icon. It's amazing to see that this car is still a bone stock Series 5 FC RX-7, and for it to have such a punch right out of the gates, it's really a testament to how well Mazda had engineered this car over 30 plus years ago. It's funny, as soon as you find an open stretch of highway and you put this car into 5th gear, this car just completely calms down and transforms into a car that you could live with on a day-to-day basis. Just goes to show you there's so much potential in these cars, and for what it's worth, right out of the gates, it's a fantastic car, and I've had such a blast driving it. I can't wait to get into the AE86 Hachiroku to see what that car is all about next. Let's go, guys. I can't believe it, guys. This is it. You're gonna have to bear with me because there are a whole lot of noises happening in this cabin of this AE86. It's just so mechanical. Everything about it just screams. Oh my lord, this thing rips! When this car was first released, nobody really took notice of it, but it had a lightweight chassis weighing in at only 950 kilos. It was an FR layout, so front engine, rear wheel drive, and that's what you want in a driver's car. The basic formula was already just so right out of the gates, and it came with a 4A-GE naturally aspirated 16-valve engine, and it was a 1.6 litre motor that was very tunable and made 96 kilowatts of power. And that's not a whole lot, but you could extract so much out of that motor. It really was a capable platform to start building from. And a few years later, following the release of the AE86, people began to realize just how fantastic this car is. They took it out on Group A racing, rally racing, you name it, this car had done it all. And if it wasn't for Keiichi Tsuchiya, the legend himself, the Drift King, he was the gentleman that put drifting on the map for the AE86.
土屋圭一が現代に蘇らせた86。
This particular vehicle that I'm driving here today is a 1985 GT Apex Terreno Sprinter, and it's the Zenki model, but it's not your conventional AE86 because this has been built to the exact same specification as Takumi Fujiwara's AE86 in initial D. down to the way this car looks. It's perfectly replicated in a real life fashion. However, the attention to detail doesn't stop there, because this car has the same motor found in Takumi's AE86. It's got the silver top 20 valve 4A-GE motor in the heart of this Hachiroku. It takes things up to a whole nother level because it is blisteringly quick. This car weighs just over 900 kilos and has 115 kilowatts, but it's how it delivers that power in this car because it feels so fast. Honestly, it's comparable to a K-Series EV that just rips through the tarmac, but it's paired with that rear-wheel drive setup that just makes it so enjoyable to drive. It's like an extension of my body, and I know exactly what this car is doing with all of these corners, and you're really able to take it out to such extreme levels. It's no slouch on the straights either because of that engine swap. There is so much feedback through the steering wheel. It's such a sensory overload. This car is so visceral. Everything about it is about the driving experience. It's got no power steering in this car. It's got a very long throw in this 5-speed manual transmission gearbox, but it's extremely notchy. It's paired with a TRD short shift kit, but it's a delicate procedure, and if you miss, you're gonna know, and it's gonna tell you exactly what you're doing wrong. But when you nail the shifts in this car, it's just a joyous experience. The pedals, my word, they're perfectly positioned for heel and towing, and it's a harmonious experience because I feel so at one with the vehicle. I feel a sense of connection with my K-Series EG Civic, as well as the Honda EF9 SIR. But this car just delivers it in a way that's even more unique. You really feel that rear-wheel drive setup in this car. The front end is light, and you can really turn it into the corners, and you can really stand on the throttle, and if you get a little bit too confident with yourself, the back end actually slides out, and it tells you, hey look, you gotta correct yourself. It's a car that requires the driver's full attention, because if you fail to do so, it might potentially bite back. But the sense of confidence that I'm getting in a car that's so agile and swift, and that's edging on 36 years of age, is truly a revelation. It's arguably one of my favorite cars that I've ever driven on the channel. And after experiencing something like this, I now know just how good the Hachiroku is. You know, everything about this car is further heightened by just how good this car looks. It's a vehicle that takes you right back to the 80s. It's a time capsule. Back in the day, there was something called tofu tax or initial D tax, and those were the things that made prices on these particular cars rise so high. It's no different, but now we have coronavirus tax, and because of that, it's skyrocketed into levels that are truly unattainable, really. To pick one up, you're looking at spending around the $50,000 mark for a really well sorted example, and even higher for those clean, pristine showroom models. I really want to say a huge thank you to the owner of these cars, Alan, for letting me drive my hero cars. This has been an experience that I'll remember for the rest of my life. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. In the comments below, tell me what you like about these JDM legends. And as well as that, consider subscribing to the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Please take care. Bye for now.
Come around, let's hang out. Having a good time with the stereo loud. Come around, let's hang out. Start the